cruise, somebody tried to murder me, and I ended up on the bridge of the ship in the middle of the North Sea, my hand cut open, very close to bleeding to death, which is what the last verse of this Strange Engine song is about. They're not metaphors, they're hard facts. And I was stitched back up by 2 sailors. You might be able to see the scars even from there. Can you see the state?
Oh, yes.
That was my last cruise, so I was slightly nervous at the prospect of doing another one.
Having said that,
Nobody's stabbed me yet.
That's actually pretty cool. Because, it's almost pirate-like.
It was very
scars. Let's compare scars. Except that wasn't a colours, or was it? Pete, of course, you've been cruising.
Very strange looking at your own legs in the back of the screen. Not used to it. Shit, do they look like that?
Is that like dogging? Yeah, you were on the Prog Nation, weren't you? Is this microphone here working? Oh, there you go. Use that one.
Here we are. Hopefully I sound more important now.
You do.
I was, my first cruise ever was about 6 weeks ago. I did the Progressive National Cruise with Transatlantic. That was interesting. That was an interesting cruise. That one went to the Bahamas. This one went further, so maybe this one's got the edges.
I didn't realise we were going to the Windward Isles. Leon.
Yes.
How are you standing up? I mean, it's a great gig to do for you. It's with Marillion, but obviously you called in pretty much last minute, I guess.
Found out about a week before I was going to do it.
So it was like fancy going to the Caribbean?
Yeah, I've done worse gigs.
Yeah, me too. Although having said that today, I mean, we could discuss and compare notes later. Guys, when you were deciding to do Cruise to the Edge, did you sort of have a long, hard think about the set? Because you've been touring, well, you touring last year for your latest album.
Yeah, well, we were conscious of the fact that it was essentially a progressive rock with a capital B thing, so we thought we'd better do all the long stuff and leave all the pop songs out. Well, pop for us, which is probably only a relative term, but the short things with choruses were all banished, and in favour of kind of cross-country things that meander about. It starts off with me singing very quietly and end up with me screaming my head off. I noticed during rehearsal for the first time. Do all our songs start out with me going, "Ooh-doo, ooh-doo, ooh," and end up with me going, and they do. So we kind of did those.
Obviously works for me, but obviously works for them as well, more importantly. How's the throat? I've had a few problems. In fact, I know a few people on the ship have come down with this kind of virus thing and it's affected the throat. You're okay, obviously.
So far, yeah. Well, I mean, you keep your fingers crossed.
One more to go. Was there anything specifically that you really wanted to put in the set for this cruise?
Well, the obvious choices were with the nautical songs, and we have written a lot of songs about water and a lot about death as well. We've got a song called Estonia, which is about a cruise ship sinking, of course, which we left out. We thought it might be a bit much in this situation, and we also have a song called Ocean Cloud, which is about a man called Don Allen who rowed across the Atlantic in both directions. And we played that last night, and as Mark said, there were some really magical moments in it, because at least for me, at key moments in that song, I felt the ship actually roll, and it was dreamlike, you know. It was extraordinary.
Life imitating art.
Exactly, the world imitating art.
So, when you sort of, you've accepted the truth of the edge, once you've accepted that you were going to do it, were you aware of how it was actually run, or what was going on? I mean, it's an interesting concept. When I did it last year, I was excited, but I had no idea what it was going to be like until I did it.
I think the biggest problem we had was knowing that we only had an hour and a half to play. When we do our own shows, we play for 2.5 hours or more.
Yeah.
And also knowing that quite a lot of people would only get to see us once, even though we were playing twice. So it was one of those choices where we had to go, okay, we're going to play a certain number of songs. And in fact, Leon had the job of having to learn all these songs, and he said to us yesterday after the show, he said, do you realise that's the first time we've played This Strange Engine from start to finish?
Yeah. We did play it once all the way through, but Steve was singing Steve's guitar parts because we were giving him a rest.
Oh, that's Can I just, I'm presuming because of the response we're getting, most of you guys out here know this band intimately. Having said that, I've spoken to a few people on the ship who've never seen you, but were knocked out. So that's got to be a good thing as well.
No, that's always the most amazing feeling. If you convert people, it's sort of, without any disrespect to your existing fans, then you really feel like you've achieved something. If you convert new listeners, it's great to be here. It's also amazing to be kind of sat at a table occasionally with Chris Squire and Steve Hackett, John Whiten, and Jeff Downs. You know, to be having a beer with them is amazing. When I was 17 years old, I used to go on CES and I saw the Cruise to the Edge tour, the Close to the Edge tour, and I saw Fragile, and I saw Tales from Topographic Oceans, and I saw Genesis do the Foxtrot tour, and the Selling England by the Power tour, and the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, and all of that. So to be later sat in a room with them, I was very starstruck to be leaving. So great doing it.
Of course, you've been in the band 25 years. Can you believe it's 25 years since they used to be like that?
New singer for 25 years.
I just got the guys to sign a photograph, which is the first photograph that EMI sent me of the new lineup. They're all good-looking young men, and now they're all good-looking, slightly older men.
Fucking state of his man. Oh, can I say happy 50th birthday to Caroline? Wherever she is. She's probably just nipped out to Blue. Are you there? Is that you there? Buy me a drink.
I was just having my breakfast earlier this morning. Somebody came, a guy called Andy, and he's here with his wife Alan. Is that, are you here, guys? Maybe somewhere around here. There we go. See, I bet you thought I'd forget. H, when you joined the band 25 years ago, he said he's read loads of books on Marillion, and you guys, the sort of more senior members of Marillion, like, I think the word is hazing people who come into the band. Apparently, Pete, when you joined the band, you came in for some stick. Now, generally, that's kind of happens with lots of bands. But how did you handle it? Because now, of course, you give the band loads of stick on stage when you're sort of live, so I guess the tables are turned. I mean, so how did you feel when you first joined the band?
Well, they made me very comfortable from the word go. First time I met the band, Pete's got cats, and we met at his house, and I'm really violently allergic to cats. So, having knocked on his front door and him open it, I said, hello, I'm Steve and I can't come in your house. So as you can see, I was hustling hard for the gig. So everybody got their coats on, and it was, I don't know, it was January, wasn't it, in 1989, a bit of a wind blow like this, quite cold. We all sat out in Pete's garden in our overcoats, in the wind, having, getting to know each other. And I said, well, you know, what is it you want me to do? Or what is it you're looking for a singer to do? And I thought that they would say, well, you know, we're Marillion, we've sold this many million records, and this is our last record, and this is what we sound like, and do you think you could do that? And if they'd said that to me, I would have said no, and that would have been the end of the meeting, because, you know, I couldn't have impersonated anybody else. But what they did say, which I thought was really courageous and really pure, and they just said, well, we've heard what you do, we've got a tape with you singing some of your songs, and we like what you do, and we'd like you to do what you do, and we'll do what we do, and we'll see what happens. And so it was such a, in artistic terms, it was such a pure proposition that, you know, it was an experiment from day one. And I think that's why it's worked and grown. You know, I don't think it would have lasted long if we'd have just been trying to fulfill a market.
Yeah.
But I really respected the chaps from day one, you know, for having that outlook and being so pure and not being. I was amazed they weren't that. They didn't seem unnerved by having lost Fish either. I mean, that amazed me. I thought they'd all be a bit worried, but they seemed totally relaxed.
Well, I actually, when Season's End came out, I was, like many people, incredibly impressed because I didn't know what was going to happen. Because I was watching the chorus thing, which was good, and the Misplaced Childhood. But the thing about Season's End, for me, although it was Marillion, and musically still very much Marillion, there was a nice twist on it, and it was almost a new band. Did you feel that way, Mark?
It's really hard to think back what it was like at the time because it was so long ago, but it just seemed like a seamless transition to us. I mean, we just carried on doing what we always did, which was try to write new music, do something, you know, move forward each time with each album, and that progression hopefully has carried on right up until the present day. So, you know, like Steve was saying, it was just such a natural fit when he joined. We didn't really stop to think about how different it was going to be. And of course, some people came along and, you know, we've had people come along and go, oh, well, I liked it with Fish. And other people saying, I couldn't listen to the band when Fish was the singer. I love it now. So, you know, it's just...
I guess.
It shifted a little bit. The thing is, we'd already written a lot of what we considered to be really strong music before Fish left. So that's why we were kind of confident in a way. So we thought the musical identity of the band still remained. And when we started working with Steve, I mean, not only was he a great singer and a great lyricist, but also a great musician. So it meant that the music could have more breathing space than maybe it had in the past. And in a way, that kind of freed us up quite a lot. And, you know, most of the album came together within a week of working together for the first time. This place, rehearsal place down in Rhyme, there used to be a mushroom farm, and we kind of went down there for a week. And it was amazing how much came together. You know, there's just a fantastic chemistry. It was almost like everything we tried worked.
Because, I mean, if a band doesn't evolve, though, it's dead in the water, really, essentially, isn't it? So, I mean, change is good for a band and a situation for writers and composers, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
I mean, if the change hadn't happened, if Fish hadn't left, then I think we would have at most made another 2 albums together. So, the way things have worked out is the best possible thing for everyone concerned.
Can I sort of bring it forward a little more recently? Your last album, and I interviewed Mark about that, and I said, I admire your balls, not physically, to understand. This is a band who've got a new piece of music on the album, and a track called Gaza. You know what I'm talking about? You guys are into the 70s. I mean, we are into kind of, sort of really serious progressive music. I'm not talking progressive rock necessarily, but certainly opening your set with a 17-minute song like that, particularly like that, which is a great song. It's one of those songs that I always think is pretty much like the revealing side to God from Yes. You're not thinking at the time, it's as long as it is, and when it's over, it's over. God, how long is this? I never think of things like that. I think that's a great track. That's what you said with it. I think it was very brave, well attempted, very brave thing to do. I mean, although I believe you issued the track previously.
Do you think we should open the set tonight with it?
I think you should. I just think it's one of those great, I mean, it's a great song. And as I said, to open your live set with it, really, it's a real stamp of who you are. This is what we are.
It was great to hear last night when Steve announced, oh, this is a song off Sounds That Can't Be Made. The audience reaction to him saying that was as good as us playing Warm Wet Circles, for example. So, you know, people still want to hear us do new stuff, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And after 25 years, of course, that is still happening, and that you can still surprise people like me being in the business. And I've listened to all your albums, and, you know, I love listening to what you guys do. But when something like that comes on, you think, yeah, these guys know what it's about. So well done, like, congratulations on that. And it's really good that you're still able to do that. What are the plans now after the cruise? Because you've been on tour, and I mean, what's next for you guys?
Well, we're popping home for a fortnight. We'll probably spend quite a bit of that in rehearsal because Mosley will be back on the drum stool, and we'll need to put together a set for South America, which happens a fortnight later. So then we're back across the water again to Mexico City, to our beloved Mexico City, and then down to Sao Paulo and down to Rio de Janeiro, Buenos Aires, and Santiago, Chile, of course. We got a Chilean in anywhere?
Yeah, I'm amazed at the amount of people from South America who come on this cruise, same as last year as well.
That's wonderful.
It is. Can I also ask you, you brought out a few bootleg box sets and things like that. How do you feel about maybe doing a box set of the band's catalogue? Because I know that at one point many bands didn't like doing it because they said bringing a box set out kills the catalogue. But I think nowadays box sets and deluxe editions are pretty much the sort of thing to do. How do you guys feel about that?
Need a big box.
Yeah, you would need a
Well,
big
you
box.
could do it in two kind of, because you did it with the singles, didn't you? The Fish era and then sort of the H era. So, but I think that, I know you've done a couple of live shows in terms of box sets, which are great. And of course you have your own label, Racket Records, which you regularly release live shows on.
Yeah, I think the complication is that obviously the first 8 albums were EMI. We'd have to kind of come to some agreement with EMI to do a box set of that whole group. It would be great to do. I think, you know, why not?
Well, I think record companies now, and we're speaking of it, they're very keen to do that, because all record companies have now, because they don't support artists, and I think that's the fault of the record companies. There's no new music coming through because they're too scared of record companies to sign anyone. But
They never get the bloody radio stations to play.
yeah, listen, I've suffered at the end of that sharp stick,
I
certainly.
mean, radio is killing music.
It is, absolutely. It's it's not less is more, it's less is less when it comes to radio. It's a good way of catching up, and if you like, an introduction to that. I mean, much better. You see, I want everything. I'm cake and eat it guy. So I know a lot of people are my age. They're like that because they've got a lot of disposable income these days. So I think that would be a good thing. But I know EMI, now that they've been taken over, they've decided who gets what. They're dealing with a lot of catalogues, so they may even approach you.
I'm sure it's something we'll talk about in the future with our new label. Orders actually it is, not EMI. But yeah, it's, you know, there's some potential to do some new and interesting things with the catalogue. So we'll see.
Now, when you go down to South America, what's the set going to be like for them? Obviously, the Cruise to the Edge, I'm presuming, is a specific set for the Cruise to the Edge. How are you going to work it for? I mean, have you toured the last album down in South America yet? No.
Yeah, we did. We toured in Latin America last year
Okay.
with Sounds That Can't Be Made, and what we thought we would do is there seems to be a bit of a sensibility down there for For the shorter songs, you know, a lot of people were asking us if we could play No One Can, Fantastic Plays, Cover My Eyes, Books and You, all of those sort of things. So we thought what we would do is release an album of that is essentially, but not quite, the singles or the shorter, more concise songs, and we're releasing that in each of the countries we're going to play. And we're going to go back and kind of do a pop tour, as it were. I say pop, you know, I mean, things less than 17 minutes long, but I guess we'll probably throw a couple of whoppers in as well. We'll be back up to the old 2.5 hour sets again, so there's plenty of.
I don't see anybody complaining. Can I ask you, and it's probably a very obvious question because it's one of my favourite songs. It's on the first album you did. Seeing as it is coming up to that time of year, is there any chance of Easter? Because I think that's one of the most evocative songs I've ever heard. It's a beautiful song.
You mean today?
Oh, maybe today or on the tour. I mean, you know, I'd love to hear you guys play it, but hey. Yeah.
Apparently we can do it, even though we haven't rehearsed it. Everybody's nodding, so we'll play it tonight. Right.
You don't ask, you don't guess. Do you mind if we get some of these guys asking some questions? Anybody down the front here like to ask a question? Yeah? Okay, hang on. This is where it gets dangerous and get pulled into the crowd here.
It's a question for H. A little birdie told me that a story about Steve Howard, and I wondered if you like that.
No. Go on, I'll tell it. And I'll start by if he's around, or if anybody who knows him is around. I apologise to Steve for telling this story, but I have felt rotten about it ever since it happened. And many years ago, we used to store our equipment in a studio in Kensington in London called No Miss. And No Miss was one of those places where all the bands used to rehearse, and you'd walk down the corridor and Iggy Pop had come the other way, and then you'd go in the cafe and have a cup of tea next to Van Morrison. It was that kind of place. In fact, I even once saw Peter Skerolitis and John McEnroe coming down the corridor, going to jam with Motorhead. It was the sort of place where strange things happened, and the bands used to store equipment in what they called cages that were just locked units in the basement underneath No Miss. And they were notoriously difficult to get into, because whenever you went down there you could never find anyone who had the key to your cage. So normally if you wanted to pop in and grab a guitar, you had to set an hour aside to do it. And on one particular occasion I was in the back of a car coming across London on my way to the airport, and they needed a digital delay line. The traffic was gridlocked and I was on the edge of missing the flight. It was very tense. And I thought the only way I'm going to be able to get in and out of there and grab this is if I phone them, let them know I'm coming, and have somebody down there standing to attention with the keys when I get there. So I phoned, and I got one of these secretaries, usually temps, the ones that go, "Hello, can you hold? No, miss. Oh, I don't know." One of those, you know. Anyway, I eventually managed to convey that I was Steve from Marillion, and I needed to get down there double quick, get this cage open. And would it be possible to have someone down there unlock the thing so I could just dive in and out and grab this piece of equipment? So she said, yes, I'll make sure. Ask for Steve. Okay. So then I sat in traffic even longer. Then I phoned again because it was even later, and she assured me once again everything was going to be all right. Steve was ready in the basement with the keys. I could run in and out. Lovely. So I finally get there, looking at my watch and sweating. I go down the stairs. I run down the corridor to where the locked door to our cage is. The padlock's still in it, and there's no sign of anybody. So I go completely crimson and throw a hysterical artist strop on the spot, and I go, you know the kind of thing, and I go, "Steve!" corridor. With that, a little fella comes leaping out of you know where this is going, don't you? This guy appears out of another cage, ashen-faced. I goes, what? And I tear his face off. And he goes, I'll sort it out, and he's running up and down the corridor. And as he's running up and down the corridor, I think, oh my God, I know who this is. And it was Steve Howe. There's too many Steves in the world. And he was, bless him, you know, he tried so hard to help after I'd been so rude to him. And he eventually found the right Steve and came back with him. And I've never really had the time to say sorry to Steve Howe. Now I'm even sorrier for telling you all.
Well, if we see it with myself,
Yeah, if you do see it, please say Steve H says he's a twat and he's really sorry.
actually,
The independent label, we realised that we needed some money in order to write and record a new album. And I said, why don't we ask the fans? We've been and done a tour of the USA a few years previously where some clever fan in America called Jeff Pelletier said, we can organise a tour fund to bring Marillion to the USA, and that's exactly what they did. A bunch of US fans chipped in and raised $60,000 in order to fund a US tour. So that was the inspiration for doing what we did. And again, the fans, you know, came to our rescue, I suppose, and funded the Arachnophobia album in 2001. And that was the first example of crowdfunding, I think they call it these days.
they do, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we started a trend there.
Yeah, we're now given the credit for having invented this model, and it's even ended up in Oxford University exams. But the fact is that this whole thing grew out of faith and was really dropped in our lap by the American fans. They did it before we thought of it. They trusted us enough to send money to a bank account with no promise and no guarantee that anything would come back from it. Also with the knowledge that if we did come and tour, they'd still have to buy a ticket. And when we found out, it kind of grew out of itself. We were barely involved in that in the early stages. In fact, when I found out it was even going on, they already had $20,000. And then we came on board and we found out it was happening, and we got involved as well. And I think they subsequently raised $60,000. And they did that through the internet. And the internet wasn't really doing much in the UK back then in 1997. So it turned us on to two things. It turned us on, first of all, to the fact that our fans trusted us, had enough faith in us to give us money, wanting really nothing in return, but trusting us to give them music in return. And it turned us on to the fact that we better get onto this internet thing because it was the future. And so, purely as a consequence of that, we became the first band in the UK to have a website, and we invented this pre-order business model. We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you very much.
I actually get the feeling that whilst I know, I mean, the Marillion fans in the UK are absolutely dedicated, loyal, in fact, all over the world, but it seems to me that American fans just kind of edge it for you guys. Because, I mean, I remember reading about that. It really was so unusual when people decided to just stump up the money. It's unheard of usually, isn't it?
I think it was very important. These days, the whole existence of the internet, for most artists, you know, it's a difficult situation because we lose so much with record sales, with downloading. But for us, what we have now with the internet is a global Marillion family that supports us no matter what we do, and that gives us the independence to create the work that we have done. So it's an amazing thing. I mean, all around the world now, we have this amazing passion and belief of our audience.
And every 2 years we kind of have a family get-together. And next spring will be our next convention, which happens in Centre Parks at Port Zeeland, just outside Rotterdam in the Netherlands. If you've never been to one of these, trust me, you'll wish you had. So do come and be with us next spring if you can. I mean, last time I think we had 46 nations there, all as one, all partying together for the weekend. We play, as you know, we play 3 2.5-hour shows. We don't repeat one song across that weekend, so we usually have to rehearse 7.5 hours of music for those weekends, and you get to hear that. But more than that, you get to share the feeling that our global family has got going on. It's truly special.
Yeah. A lot of people who've been talking to me are already looking forward to that next one, and they've been to all the others before, so long may that continue. Do we have any more?
Slightly different because we involved several different artists. We involved, I don't know if I remember the names, the boys might remember the names, but come here, Mark, let me whisper in your ear, we can't hear a fucking thing like this. What's it doing? The artists, the last album, we had the guy that does the art for Peter Gabriel for Real Love. We had our own, what was it? We had Antonio Sejas, a Spanish did all the artwork for Happiness is the Road. He contributed. In-house artist, a very talented guy called Simon Ward, designed the front cover, which was the thing with that strange curly card thing, and that was inspired by the idea of a mathematical cardioid in 3 dimensions to try and represent. Oh, there we go. Shit, where did we get that? I better not drop it. It's one of those. Woo. Get rid of that. Let's hope it doesn't dissolve. It's all right. So this was photographed. How did it get here?
Somebody gave it to him.
Is it another one?
Yes.
Can you make your own? Yeah. I thought we only had one. No, it tells me. So, yeah, it's that kind of different artists contribute. What was particularly interesting was the last song. It's called The Sky Above the Rain. And at that, round about that time, we had a fan who was an astronaut who was on board the International Space Station, a guy called Andrei Kuipers, and he sent us some incredible photographs that he'd taken out the window of the Earth. So we kept getting these incredible photographs from a man in space. And he sent us one particular amazing image of the moon just coming into view with the atmosphere, the blue atmosphere of the Earth. So that seemed absolutely ideal. He actually phoned me up in Chicago just before I went on stage and said, "Hello, this is Andre calling from the International Space Station. How are you doing?" I thought, "Yeah, I'm all right."
I hope it wasn't reverse charges. Can I ask you guys, honestly, H, you've done solo albums, Steve Brother has been involved in solo projects, and Peter's been involved with Transatlantic, things like that. How do you feel about that as a band? Obviously it's something that you're quite happy to have. Do you think that makes the band stronger when guys go away and do kind of away projects?
No, I think it definitely does. Yeah, it gives you the freedom to do things that you wouldn't otherwise do in the band. I mean, the album I'm doing, the Ghost of Cricket album, Leon here's played with me on. You know, it's instrumental guitar music. And I actually used Kickstarter. I used the thing of, you know, crowdfunding. It was an amazing success. And it's very exciting. Sometimes it's difficult because you have to fit it in with all our other commitments with, you know, the band and the tours and everything. But I think it's a healthy situation. I mean, like Steve's album with Richard Barbieri, you know, you give the chance to explore different things.
Yeah, I didn't hear any of that, but I was going to say that, yeah, from my point of view, it's a lot of fun playing with other musicians in other bands, and that makes my playing sort of stronger, I think. And it also, the main thing that it does is make me realise how special Marillion is and what we have going, and that is just something that I don't think I've witnessed with other bands to the same extent. And you know, I'm very proud, and I think we all are very proud of being in Marillion, and it's something very special to us. And I don't think we would, that just gets stronger when you're away from it. You know, you don't always know what you have until you miss it. So, you know, I think it always makes the band much stronger, and it's very nice to be back together again, actually, at the moment.
Without splitting the band and then come back and do more albums, so it's quite appropriate that you guys do that as well. It seems very common now to be able to do that, because if you'd have been around in the sort of the mid-70s, people say, well, they're doing solo albums, they must have all split, but that's not the case now. I mean, again, we're back to Cake, he's not Cake, he's not but I think that's very important, because as you said, not only does absence make the heart fonder, you kind of bring up other ideas. You get, when you work with other people, you get musical ideas that might not work with that project, but you know will probably work with the band. So that is good. But we're getting to the close of this delightfully windy Q&A session. Is there anybody else out there who might go? Okay. Okay.
Coming out in the next couple of months. Yeah, how did that, I mean, I know the publisher, a publisher of science fiction related things, so how did that deal?
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, since, I mean, Christ, 1990 something, I went back to, when my mum and dad were alive, actually, I went back to their house up in Doncaster, and my dad said, "What have you been up to then, son?" And I said, "Well, I've been in Iceland. They helicoptered me onto a glacier on top of a mountain, and I've been wandering around looking heroic, making a video." And he said, "Oh yeah," he said, you should keep a diary, you know, because shit like that doesn't happen to people." So I said, "Okay," and I began writing diary, not all the time, but often when we were on tour, I would try and just catalogue everything that was going on. And while I've been here, I've been doing that, I think Rock Magazine are going to actually run a little blog from Cruise to the Edge as well. So, yeah, come up and talk to me, you might end up in print. This little publisher called MIWK approached me out of the blue earlier in the year and said, "We'd really be up for publishing your diaries. Do you want, you know, one of the chaps is a fan of the band, seems to understand the music." So I just pulled it all together, and once I pulled it together, I realised I'd got about 700 pages, which was too much for a book. So we've split it into 2 volumes. 1991 to 97 is coming out on June the 21st, and I think in November today will come out. So you can read about that on our website on Marillion.com and stevehartwell.com if you're interested. We did put some artworks on sale, but they all sold out at day one, which was quite encouraging. So, but the paperbacks are, unlimited. So I know. It's called The Invisible Man, by the way.
If I'd said that to my dad, he would have said, when are you going to get a proper job?
My family still say that to me. Well, listen, guys, under incredibly difficult conditions, first of all, may I thank you for subjecting yourselves to this Q&A session. I realise that you have another gig later this afternoon on the list today, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys. I really hope, although I know it's not expected that you do Easter, but thank you very much for taking the time to come out and cruise to the edge. We've loved it, haven't we?
Thanks a lot for coming.
I noticed last night there was quite a few empty seats in the house, so if you haven't got the right coloured pass for tonight, just come along anyway, because you might just get in. It'd be nice to see all the seats full.
If I can just say something as well. I didn't make the Marillion cocktail party yesterday because of my background. So I will be around over at the side here for a little while if anyone wants anything signing or photos.
Marillion! Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you in the bar.
See you later.